the fan-favorite action RTS is back after an 8-year hiatus. Halo Wars 2 feels like the natural evolution of the original game, with a bigger campaign, deeper gameplay mechanics, and a more ambitious story, as well as the addition of the all-new Blitz mode on the multiplayer side. The story starts with the UNSC Spirit of Fire, waking from cryosleep after 28 years without contact. Because of that, Halo Wars 2 feels like a contained story. Since the crew don't know what's happened in the last 28 years, it's a nice parallel between them and new players who are jumping into the Halo universe for the first time. It's a refreshing break from the lore-heavy stories of the last 2 mainline games. The developers' effort to keep the story tight and focused results in a plot that feels equal parts Halo 4 and Combat Evolved. The cinematics from Blur Studios is the first thing you'll notice, and they get even better as the stakes are raised and the crew of the Spirit of Fire takes the battle to the newly introduced Banished faction. Without going into spoilers, you'll learn about the history of their leader Atriox and how such a massive force came to be, both through the game's cutscenes and Phoenix Law collectibles that detail the many vehicles and unit types that are used in the game, as well as journal entries, like one from a Sangheili guard questioning the motives of his superiors. Those who are only exposed to Halo's narrative through the cutscenes and dialogue of the games are missing out on a spectacular universe filled with interesting story beats and fascinating characters, and I would implore anyone who is interested to dive into the campaign logs and experience it for themselves. The return of the brutes as foes in the Halo games is possibly the best narrative decision 343 Industries has made in their 6 years as the makers of Halo. Atriox's violent nature coupled with the brilliance and cunning of his ascent to a full-blown galaxy-wide threat is spectacular, especially when witnessing it through Blur's astonishing CG cinematics. The game's opening missions have an eerie sense of mystery about them, harkening back to Halo Combat Evolved. They stray away from the strategic gameplay that makes up most of the adventure, instead opting to lay down the story that will unfold through exploration sections as players get in tune with the control scheme. These sets of missions are a beautiful marriage between gameplay and story. The context of the story and the objectives of the game are in complete tandem and result in a fluid and incredibly satisfying opening hour. Unfortunately, this cooperation isn't as consistent as I hoped over the game's 7 to 9 hour campaign, as a few missions in sequence slow things down. Thankfully, the second half of the campaign merges the story and the gameplay well, while raising the stakes as the game's climax hits. In terms of the actual play experience, I found that different types of missions reveal deeper mechanics and levels of strategy. The exploration-heavy introduction obviously isn't as demanding from a gameplay perspective as the base building segments, that have you keeping an eye on multiple bases and enemy movement. Players can build different types of bases to deploy air, infantry, and vehicle units, while also upgrading said units to higher levels as the game moves on. Seeing the game in action is a sight to behold, especially in larger battles. All manner of debris and flailing bodies fly across the screen, and the vibration feedback feels utterly satisfying. If you ever get the chance, make sure to stock up on the Hellbringer forces that are equipped with flamethrowers. The sea of crackling red and orange inferno as they all focus their sights on a single target is incredibly gruesome. The pacing on the gameplay side is exceptional, as missions end and begin at just the right time, and the player is given different types of units to mess around with. One interesting type of mission involved a prison break segment that started off with a few soldiers and ended with an armada after breaking your allies out of banished prisons. The difference between these types of missions and the base building variants is in their use of supplies and energy. The prison break missions force the player to explore the map and find the limited amount of energy and supplies present. The level of strategy shoots up, as now a million decisions must be made on what leader abilities to use, ranging from healing your army to calling in orbital strikes. The multiplayer this time around focuses on the all-new Blitz mode. While players can jump into matches of Team Objective or the ever-addicting Firefight, Blitz offers a unique experience. Similar to Halo 5's Rec system in Warzone, players collect Blitz decks to unlock cards that can be used on the battlefield. Up to 6 players on 2 teams can go head-to-head, calling in units at any time, provided you have the resources to do so, and capturing objectives to reach the point total. The beauty of Blitz is in its ability to force the player to change their tactics on the fly, as random cards show up in their deck. While Warzone in Halo 5 feels like a good first step before the inevitable Warzone 2.0, Blitz mode is almost as good as it can get already. Halo Wars 2 delivers a superb story that ends with a million possibilities on what could happen in future games. The contained and focused narrative allows new players to jump in and experience some good old Covenant versus human battles that defined the original Halo trilogy. Its return to the classic art style is an encouraging move to set the franchise's look apart from other sci-fi games. And the evolution of its gameplay and multiplayer modes is sure to keep many strategizing far into the future. Halo Wars 2 delivers on nearly all aspects and could spell a very bright future for the RTS spin-off in the years to come.